All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Here we go, Peter. Episode number 467 coming your way.
Wow.
The title for today's podcast is Creative Real Estate Common Barriers to Leads and Deal Flow.
Wait a minute. Say it again. I missed one of the words.
Creative Real Estate Common Barriers to Leads and Deal Flow.
Got it.
So here's a description. Here's something that is going to piss you off. You know all those creative real estate techniques you've been learning? Subject to deals, lease options, seller financing, contract for deed, all that stuff? None of it matters if you don't have leads and take action on them. And here's the thing that's really going to make you mad. Most creative real estate rookies are creating their own drought without even knowing it. I'm talking about smart people, but instead they're sitting around wondering why their phone isn't ringing while making mistakes that creative deal flow. I'm giving that to you again. While making mistakes that generate creative deal flow failure. In this episode, we will divulge the barriers that are standing between you and consistent deal flow. The ones you might know about and the ones you might not know about. Remove these barriers and leads start flowing. Fix your deal flow and deals become inevitable. It's not magic. It's just understanding what's needed and wanted, then producing it. But realize this is a fair warning, because after listening today, you may come to the terms that you are your own worst enemy. Good news. If you create the problem, you can fix it to flourish and prosper in real estate. What do you think, Peter?
You got my attention. I'm always looking for ways to get better at this, because you don't know what you don't know you're doing not as good as. So I'm all ears as usual.
All right, good. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, make sure you jump over to Amazon to grab my new book called Leads, Deals, Cash, Creative Real Estate Operators Manual. If you go to Amazon, type in William Hawthorne without an E, although it will work with the E, but it's Hawthorn. There's I think I have 7 or 8 books there, but you'll find the newest book there, and it's yellow. It's called Leads, Deals, Cash, Creative Real Estate Operators Manual. I've been getting some raving feedback on it, and I think it's something that if you want to understand how to standardize your creative real estate business, if you don't know where to start, or you want a system and you want to know what step 1, what step 2, what step 3 is, that's the book, because I go through all of it. It's 30 plus years experience doing hundreds of deals myself and hundreds of deals with clients. Been coaching for 20 years. I'm in 3 different coaching groups. I get a lot of feedback, so it's all pragmatic, very practical information.
You know what else, Bill?
Tell me.
It's very easy to read.
Yeah, it's very easy to read. Yeah.
No, really, it's like very, very easy. It's an easy read. Just moves.
Yeah. I write conversationally, so. But yeah, grab the book and check it out. The other thing is, if you want to join my newsletter, it's called Creative Real Estate Dealology Newsletter. I gotta check that. I always forget that URL.
Creative Real Estate /Dealology?
No.
Or something else? No.
I don't know why I should write that down.
You have too many things.
Yeah. Yeah, creativerealestatedealology.com. I put newsletter in there all the time. Creativerealestatedealology.com /subscribe. And you could grab my newsletter every Saturday morning, and it's all about dealology is a word that I didn't make up. I just kind of put together, and it's the study of deals. That's what it is, the study of deals. So it's creative real estate study of deals. So if you're interested in getting better at your deal skills, then that free newsletter will help you every single Saturday morning, because I break it down and give example of deals that I'm doing or my students are doing and all that kind of stuff. So go check it out. All right. So with that said, let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something else I'm supposed to be saying, but I can't remember, so I'll just deal with it when I remember.
Okay.
So here we go. Your phone isn't ringing enough is what you think. Pretty interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if it's something else? Maybe you have it backwards. You are chasing deals, sounding desperate, and begging the seller, or giving a seller seminar when they wonder what to say. Then you're curious to want to know why sellers don't respond to you or your deal. And your deal flow sucks. Wonder why. How about this fact? The less I do, the more I make. Thank you, Mr. Ron LeGrand.
Yeah, right, huh? That's a good one.
The less I do, the more I make. Maybe you're trying too hard. Maybe your neediness is too high. Maybe you're pushing too hard and not relaxing. So I'm going to tell you a quick story which I just popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to think I'm a nut, but it's just who I am, right?
Bill, I hate to tell you, it's too late.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I listen to a lot of political podcasts, and I listen to a lot of marketing podcasts, and when I'm driving, not when I'm home. When I'm home, I'm working.
Yeah.
But I listen to so for a break, I picked these stupid shows. Like for a while, I was watching MASH, and just these like whatever. So I've been I don't know why it popped up on my TV a couple months ago. The Waltons.
Really, the old Waltons.
I love them. The 1930 Depression, where they all got bare feet and shit, right?
Yeah.
So I've been watching them just for entertainment, just to kind of take my mind off of stuff. So I watched one the other day, and the mother gets polio.
Ooh.
And the son, John Boy, decides that he goes to a university and gets some data. And back then, they didn't know anything about how to. They thought that they had to sling your legs to hold the muscles together. And some doctor in Australia was like, no, that's not what you do. You got to do the opposite. You got to get rid of the slings, and you got to wrap your legs in these hot towels and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, it worked. So Olivia, they call her Liv, the mother, is trying to walk. And she gets out of bed, and John Boy's helping her, and she keeps falling to the floor, and she gets frustrated. And she's like, after months and months and months, she's finally like, you know what? I'm going to believe the doctor, and I'm going to resort to the fact that I'm crippled and I got to be in the wheelchair. So she kicks everybody out of the room, and that's it, right? Yeah. So the next scene that happens is she's sleeping and she's dreaming, or we don't know if she's dreaming. We hear Elizabeth, who's the youngest daughter, crying for her, mommy, whatever, and she's screaming for her. So Olivia wakes up in this grog, right? And she gets out of the bed and starts walking and gets halfway across the room and is like, oh my God, I'm walking. The reason why I tell you this kind of stupid story is because this is how real estate investors are. When she was trying too hard, she was exercising every day, and she was insistent on she was going to walk again. All she did was fumble and fall and got frustrated and got mad and started barking at everybody, right? But when she was in the middle of the night and she was dreaming and her daughter needed her youngest daughter needed her, she just got up. There was no neediness. There was no must have. There was no, no resistance. She just was like, I got to help my daughter. And she got up and started to walk. Right? I only say this because I could tell you from my experience in my earlier days, not nowadays, it's much different because I've changed quite a bit. But I remember some of the best ideas I would get is while I was on vacation. Like I'd be in some gift shop or I'd be driving down the road or I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like totally relaxed and be like, holy shit, how come I didn't think of that before? It was clear as day.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a little bit of a off track of what we're supposed to be doing today, but it's a very good lesson that you just need to relax. You will get deals. There are deals out there. There are plenty of deals out there. In fact, I was on a coaching call the other day and they're like, what do you think of the market? And I'm like, what market? They're like, well, the real estate market. Okay, what do I think about it? I think there's a lot of deals out there if you just hustle. It doesn't matter if the market's going up or if the market's going down. What matters is which way the market is and how you're going to structure your deals.
Yeah.
But there's always deals. Right? I don't drive through my town and see less buildings.
Yeah.
I usually see more buildings, right? Or occasionally they'll tear down a building, but then they put something bigger and better up or more of it.
That's right.
Right? So anyways, so let's go back to Ron LeGrand saying the less I do, the more I make. So you just have to have that philosophy. It's like you don't need to work hard. You don't need to be on the phones grudging along for hours and hours every single day, right? You could just talk to one person and make one deal. If you just tell yourself that's what you're going to do, right? So how do you do this? How do you, the less I do, the more I make? How do you do that? Because it's easy for me to spout it on this podcast, and it's easy for Ron LeGrand to spout it off in his seminars. But how do you actually do that? So here's my answer to that question, which I asked myself multiple times before I wrote this podcast. It's very simple. Dan Kennedy's 3M, M like in Michael, 3M triangle. The M stand for message, media, and market alignment. So if you have the right message with the right media to the right market, you don't have to work a lot. You could just make less phone calls than everybody else and get more deals. If you just study who you're going to talk to and what you're going to do, which is your deal flow. See, I believe in today's day and age, or to our listeners who listen to this podcast, most know the techniques of real estate today. Especially with our slot deal. I mean, we're crushing it. In Creative REI Replay, we're crushing it. Every week I go on there and I get at least 3 to 5 people, often more, that will be like, oh my God, we couldn't do a deal. We were trying for a decade, couldn't do it. We've been in here like 30 days and we got a deal already. And they're big deals, 10, 20, 40. I mean, one girl did $47,000 on a slot deal, right? So it's very good. And the reason why I say that is because I believe in today's day and age, our listeners, like I said, who are listening to this podcast, know the techniques of creative real estate. And they know that we've broken it out, that I've broken it out to 2 different kinds of deals. One is a FRED deal, FRED. That's an acronym for flipping real estate documents. That means that we're buying and selling the contracts or buying and selling the paperwork that controls the property. Just to get a concept of that, what controls the property, Peter? What one document controls the property?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you could say the deed, but we use
Exactly.
right, but we use an
Exactly.
option to have the right to control it.
So we have a bunch of devices that allow us to take control over a property or take control over the deed and run it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a whole other story because it's the difference between a deed and the definition between a deed and title,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? The title is like I'm the owner of this property. I'm the owner is the title,
Yeah.
right? So we deal with FREP deals where the rest of the world that are not in creative real estate deal in. I'm sorry, we deal in FRED deals where the rest of the world deal with FREP deals, which is flipping real estate property, and that's where all of the wholesalers are, and it's all about location, 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 and what it looks like, and pretty and ugly, and what the banker says, and how much the realtor gets for commission, and contractors, and all hard money lenders because they replace the old money in the deal already with new money, and they gaff you for the money. Well, why do all that when you could just do a simple lease option or an agreement for deed or subject to or owner financing and just control the property's documents? Which, by the way, I call this in my book the second money. The second money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, do I call it second money? Because the money's already in the property. You're just going to reuse it, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to recycle it, right? So, what I'm going to do today is help you match your message, media, and market so sellers start chasing you instead of you chasing them. Or, as I say, begging for deals and letting your neediness poke its ugly head up like a gopher. What was that, Caddyshack?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the gopher keeps popping up, right?
Like that game, like the arcade game with the five gophers popping up the head that you smack with a hammer. Yeah.
There you go,
Oh yeah.
right? And so we don't want these gophers popping up in the middle of your deals. We want the deals to go smooth. So how do you get a smooth deal? And we're going to talk about that today. But beware, I have 6 barriers that we're going to talk about today, which is really about 90 minutes worth of podcast, right? Probably 100 minutes, but I'm going to skim it down. So what I'm going to do today is just read through the notes that I have. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
However, if you want more and you want to see my notes, then send me an email to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com and I will send you a copy of the notes. I think it's like 6 or 7 pages
Mm-hmm.
of notes, and I will send them to you. Okay. So you can digest them and go over them because I'm going to hit some pretty cool points today. And also be advised for today, if you remove one or more of these barriers, your income will start to improve.
Well, that's good to know. So you don't have to have all 6 out of the way. Just the more you remove, the easier it'll get.
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
most of them are habits.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh,
So in
good.
creative real estate, as soon as the barriers are gone, the floodgates open.
So you'd have new habits.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that when we get done with the barriers and you tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I call this creative real estate common barriers to lead flow. Barrier number 1. Signal blindness.
Wow.
Missing creative deal indicators.
Ah.
I've talked about this in the past, but I've never had it delineated or clearly labeled like this.
Mm-hmm.
So here are the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Here's what happens when you have this barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Investors only recognize distressed seller signals.
Hmm.
Missing sellers who need creative solutions but don't sound desperate.
Yeah.
and can't distinguish between cash sale signals versus creative deal signals. Now, I want to tell you, Peter, I could shut the podcast off right now, and if you studied what I just said within the last 3 minutes, I know this because I've had hundreds of students, and that's why it's number one, the number one barrier. They don't pick up on the right signals. They miss them. And I know because back in the day when I first started doing coaching, I used to get on the phones with my clients, my coaching clients.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing it because they would call me up. Oh my God, I got this wicked motivated person. We got to call him. 5 minutes. We got to call him right now. This is a deal.
Yeah. He's motivated.
I'd be on the phone for 3 minutes, and they were motivated to get their price or their deal. They didn't know the difference between the student didn't distinguish between the cash signals and creative real estate signals. Right? Yeah. So what is it? Let's just clear something up here. Let me go. What does a signal mean to you?
Well, that would be a kind of, well, it's a sign. It's something that tells you what's happening. You know, if you see a red light on a road, you think maybe I should stop. It's something that tells you what's going on.
Yep. That's what I would say, but let's see what the dictionary says. Yeah, gesture, action, or sound that is used to convey information or instructions, typically by prearrangement between the parties concerned.
Yeah, right? You're supposed to know what the signals mean, but you're saying we don't know what those signals mean. We're not connecting those to what's behind the signal.
So here's what I'm going to say. This is the definition. If I had to define it, here's the definition. You ready?
Yeah.
An indication of state of affairs.
Ooh, that's good.
So the signal is an indication of state of affairs.
Right. And you're saying we're supposed to catch those. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you and I both know that there's two types of personalities. Everybody has two personalities. One personality is the social acute, meaning very short-term personality. When they're at a party, they're like, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah. And some people are really good at doing that. And then you have the chronic personality, which is what you act like when there's nobody around.
Yeah.
So what happens is these signals are indicators of the social personality that you have to pierce and get to the chronic personality. And I don't even mean personality in this particular case. They're going to be social about the deal because they're embarrassed or whatever. And you have to dig in and get the chronic situation.
Would this be like when we've talked about the person's desires? Like they say they want this or that. And if you dig deeper, you can find out what they really want so we know.
Yeah.
Like the desire, what do they really desire? And I think a lot of times they're afraid to say what they desire. Like you'll take advantage of them or they don't even know or embarrass, whatever it is. They won't tell you. Yeah.
Well, here's the big thing. When they say it's money, money is just a device. Money is a way to get things.
Yeah.
So when somebody says they want money, what do they really want?
It's never
money. It's never money.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the problems. So what I did is in this particular case, I can't be shooting my big mouth off here and not put my money where it is, right? So here are the real estate signals for creative deals. These are just some of them, so you get an idea on it, right? So, I mean, you don't need to write these down if you want, but you should. If you're listening to this podcast, you should write these down because I've talked about these in the past, and they're in scripts, and they're in places that I've said. So, here we go. Ready?
Right, and we can get these. We can get these in your notes, though, if we want.
If you get my notes, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're in the notes.
Good.
flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. That's the email. I need to sell, but.
Sorry, it's just funny. I don't know
Those
why.
those are usually equity concerns, timing issues, condition problems.
Yeah, well, it means there's some kind of a problem.
Yeah. Here's another one. I don't want to pay realtor fees.
Hmm.
Those are perfect for creative structures. Those are perfect for our slot deals. We pay
Yeah,
35% of our market value.
yeah.
Here's another one. I inherited the house. Do these sound desperate?
No, but we don't like desperate people because
Yeah,
they're
but
not
wait
even
a minute. Wait a
good.
minute. Let's just get real here. So if you're talking to somebody and you said to them, they said to you, "Oh yeah, you got a mortgage on the house? Oh no, I inherited it."
Uh,
Would you consider that a signal or an indicator that
I
they're
would think
motivated?
I would think it's an opportunity because, hey, what are they going to do with the house? I was actually talking to one of my students' moms yesterday. She's living in an apartment. Her mom died. She goes, I'm paying two rents. She's living in an apartment. So I'm paying two rents. Why do I want to do that? So she's moving into the house. So I said,
Yep.
well, that sounds like a great idea. If you're going to stay in your apartment, if you want to do that, let me know. I can do something really smart with that house. But it's a house. She's going to move in. But why would she have two houses?
Right.
Two bills. That was
Let's go
yesterday.
let's go backwards now. Missing sellers who need creative solutions but don't sound desperate,
Mm,
right? I inherited a house is not sounding desperate. Here's another one.
yeah,
I can't afford repairs,
sure.
right? That's a creative deal, just not distressed,
Yeah.
right? Another one. I'm behind on payments but love this house.
Hmm.
They're struggling. It's a conflict.
They sound like they want to stay in it though.
Right. So I'm going to say something that's a little bit weird. It won't be to you, but it will be to my listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to understand that these signals are coming from this weirdness in their mind. They have two pieces of data or two thoughts.
Mm.
They have their intention and then they have counter intention
Yep.
or other intention.
That's the
Like,
but.
yeah,
But
that's the but, right?
but
So when somebody says I'm behind in payments, but I love this house. So they love the house. That's one datum.
yeah.
But they can't afford the payments. That's another datum. So now we have intention. I love this house, and counter intention is I got to pay for it.
Yeah. And I
So
can't.
that's the definition of a problem right there.
Yep.
Intention, counter intention.
Yep.
Now it doesn't mean they're frustrated. Doesn't mean they're desperate. They're just trying to sort it out in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not good at hearing these signals, you won't dive into that and help them sort that out in their mind. Well,
But
how could it be?
this is where you say be curious,
Yeah.
right? That's where you do well and ask questions and like, oh, tell me about that and
Here's another
what's
one.
going on.
I want to sell, but stay until my kids finish school. I get
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Another one. I need cash, but don't want to lose my equity.
Hmm.
I'm tired of being a landlord, but need some income.
Oh, gee, that sounds really good.
I need to sell, but owe more than it's worth.
Oh, definitely.
I want full price, but can't wait for traditional financing.
Hmm.
So these are some like deal indicators that I think get missed because they're
Yeah.
subtle. They're subtle, right? There's an intention, which means some route or some path or some concept that somebody wants in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to go get an apple. Okay. What does that mean? I got to get in my car. I got to go down to the store. I got to go into the store. I got to get the apple. I got to go to the cash register. Is it worth it? Do I really want that apple? Well, if
Right.
you go through all that motion, yeah, you really want that apple. Oh, but wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I want an apple, and I open the door, and there's 4 feet of snow. We're in the middle of a blizzard, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
counter intention. Like, oh my God, how am I going to get the apple?
Yep.
and it creates a problem. Like, I really want that apple, but there's 4 feet of snow. How am I going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is the definition of a problem. Like, oh my God, I have a problem now.
Yep.
So we talk about all the time solving people's problems, but we don't talk about what is a problem.
Well, you know what I think one of the problems is that we start a deal and we think we have in our mind what we should be doing already.
Right.
And you're really good at like blank slate, like don't have an idea, just listen and
Right.
wait till you have the data and hunt around and you'll find what's right for the person.
Well, the difference between you and I, and maybe not right now, but the difference between you, me, and a listener is I don't believe I make the offers.
Mm.
I don't make any of my offers. I let the seller make my offers. All I do is organize it and give it back to them in a fashion that they can understand it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's move on. So where do you find these sellers? Right. So expired listings is a great place to find them. Right. Tried traditional route and they're frustrated with fees and hassles. They're a great place to find them. Right. For sale by owners already have a real already they're already avoiding the realtor fees, so they're looking for creative deals. Divorced attorney networks,
Hmm.
right? Need flexible solutions, not just cash, because they're just trying to get away from each other. And you could be the moderator, the mitigator. That's the word I want. Mitigator.
Mediator.
A mediator. That's what I'm thinking.
Mediator.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
A mediator will mitigate too, means lessen the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, yeah. All of those.
How about estate sale companies like inherited properties, and they often need terms.
Uh-huh.
That's a state companies, sale companies. That's probate court. Probate attorneys is a great place to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that have a ugly house and need 20, 30 grand to fix it and inherited it. They got the house for free, but it's in distressed order, so they either take a lot less money to get it off their plate, or or they go clean it out and they start doing repairs, and they don't want to do the latter of the two, right?
That's right.
Property management companies is a good way to be. You should network with property management companies. You get tired landlords and often prefer payouts. The trick there is to just make sure that you tell the property manager you're going to give them a percentage of the sale for bringing the deal, like 2.5% or something, right?
Sure.
Tax delinquent list is another good one. Those you can buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I want you to know before I go on to number 2, or I want you to agree with me that if you understand the barrier and what you're missing, it will automatically clue you in to who you should be talking to, because these are the type of people that would have this problem,
Sure.
right? So the real situation isn't the leads.
Hmm.
The situation is what you're comfortable with doing in your head. You're trying to be a jack of all trades, right? You're trying to be the handyman guy that comes in and fixes everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why is it so hard to find a handyman guy? Because there is
Sure.
no such thing of jack of all trades. They're usually hacks.
Oh.
They come in and they'll stop a leak and get things going. But I can tell you right now, I've looked at very many handyman special. I mean, been in houses where a handyman's lived there for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
I don't touch them.
Not good.
No, they're hacks. All right. Barrier 2,
Mm-hmm.
poor pre-qualification. This is the prospect versus suspect syndrome,
Yeah.
right? So here's the problem. You're treating all motivated sellers the same way. What does that mean? That means that and it goes back to what I said on the first one, right? You can't distinguish between cash sale signals, and terms deal signals.
Mm-hmm.
So realize motivation is a funny word, because every seller is motivated to sell their house. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling their house. There's something that they're trying to do with this house. Either get rid of a problem or get cash so they can fix another problem. Right?
Yep.
All houses are usually savings accounts. There's equity in them. it's not as prominent as it was years ago, because years ago we didn't have as much inflation as we have now. But when there's no inflation and we have deflation, then equity doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
Right? Right now for the last since COVID, for the last 5 years, anybody could be an investor. You could be a freaking gerbil and be an investor these days. No disrespect, but it's not hard to buy a house and 3 months later it goes up 2% and you make money.
Yeah.
The market is helping you,
Hmm.
right? It's when you have down markets is when the good guys will stay. The bad guys, the ones that don't know what they're doing will leave,
Right.
right? All right, so barrier number two, poor pre-qualification, prospects versus suspects. The first problem is treating all motivated sellers the same way. You think that they're motivated to sell their house and you're going to solve their problem. What you need to do is you need to find motivation for them to do the deal the way you want them to do the deal.
Hmm.
That's a truly motivated person. They say yes more than they say no to the offer you're giving them for a creative real estate transaction.
Yep.
If they're not doing that, then they're not motivated for you. You have no system to identify who needs creative real estate solutions. You're just winging it. You get on the phone and you're asking some questions, and you think because you have one of my scripts or somebody else's scripts that you're good, right? What does that mean, a system, Peter? That means once you close them, what are you going to send them? What are they going to sign? What about what about the memorandum, or what about the documents they're going to sign? Lock them up, and then when we find our buyer, what documents are we going to use? How are we going to find our buyer? Like, what system do you have? This is kind of like, oh, I have this new car out in the driveway, right? And you're like, oh my God, I can do this and I can do that, and you've settled in your head, this is the best thing in the world. I got this new car. I can have all my freedom now. You're a 16-year-old kid, right? All my freedom. I have to worry about my mom and dad. I can come and go. I can go see my friends. You got all these imaginary things.
Uh-huh.
And then you're like, okay, so now it's time to go do one of those things.
Hmm.
You can't find the keys to the car. Or, oh shit, I got the car. I got gas in the car. I got money. But, it's not registered.
Mm.
Or it doesn't have gas in it. You see what I'm saying? This is creative real estate. This is what people do. They imagine all these grandiose things. Oh, I'm going to make $40,000. I'm going to pay off my credit card. I'm going to pay my daughter's student debt. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to do 5 deals a month, and I'm going to make $1 million a year, and I'm going to buy my kids this, and it's like, that's all good, but you have to have systems to do that, right?
Hmm.
And the other problem is you're wasting times on sellers who just want cash. That is probably the biggest problem I had for the longest time. Is I get my students waste too much time on sellers that just want all cash, thinking they're going to convert them.
Hmm.
Now me, 30 years experience and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of presentations. I lost track at 4,300 like
Hmm.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm talking about those presentations where nose to nose, toe to toe, because I used to go to the house to do them with a presentation pack and sit at the kitchen table for
Hmm.
two hours and talk to these people, right?
Yeah.
So I think I have something to say here, right? So
Oh,
the
yeah.
point is that you're wasting time. And how do I know this? Because when I was doing that, I'd have to make an appointment, then I'd have to re-verify the appointment, then I'd have to get in my car, I'd have to do all my due diligence on the property, because this is, we didn't use the internet as much as we had now. We definitely didn't have cell phones the way we had cell phones, but not smartphones,
Yeah.
right? So we'd have to do our due diligence and make a file for it, put the file together, get in the car, go to the house, knock on the door. You did this. You learned your lesson this way with a couple deals. Get to
Hmm.
the house. Walk through the house for 15 or 20 minutes, and then sit down and say, okay, here's what I can do. And right away, oh, no, I'm not doing it. I'm going to do all cash.
Yeah. Yep. You didn't say that. Yes, he did. But he on the phone, you like, no, he didn't. Yes. Oh God. Yeah. Oh yeah. Lots of fun.
So that's where the school of hard knocks comes from. So now I understand,
Uh,
we do everything from our desk, and it's not as important as it used to be, but it is if you want to do deals. If you don't know how to do these things, then you're in trouble. So what you need to do is you need to have, and these are just a very few that I have. I've got a bunch of these, but just to give you an idea, how do you handle this? How do you what do you do to make sure that this barrier is taken care of? Well, you need some pre-qualifying questions, and those questions are what's your ideal timeline? Like
yeah.
when did you want to close by, or when did you want to move by?
Mm-hmm.
And this is yours, Peter. I give you credit for this because this is 100% yours. What's more important to you, price or terms?
Mm.
And you don't say price or terms. You say what's more important to you, price or profit?
Well, it's like getting your asking price or making more profit.
Right, exactly.
How about
So,
that?
what's preventing you from listing it with a realtor?
Hmm.
That's a good question.
Well, you used to have like, why don't you just list it?
Right.
Like as if you're like, why don't you just go sell it and see what they say? They go, oh no, no, because.
And this is part of, these are all part of our script. So, would you be open to receiving payments over time?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is on our script is how much you asking for the house? Oh, 400,000. Okay, well the only way I could pay 400,000 is if I make monthly payments till it's paid off. Is that something we could talk about?
Yeah.
Right. Realize this: suspects want cash. They want it now, and they're not flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Prospects are open to terms, meaning monthly payments. Have timing needs, right? Like they have time considerations. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't do 3 years, but I'll do 2 years type stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to maximize their value on the deal.
Right. They want to get as much as they can
Mm-hmm.
from their little piggy bank.
So I need to speed it up here. So I'm going to keep doing that, right? I knew this was going to happen to me. So where
Yeah.
do you find these lists, these people? Well, Craigslist, real estate wanted ads. You find them there. Facebook Marketplace, right? Just go on to Facebook Marketplace. On the left side, click on either houses for sale or, more importantly, landlords for rent, and start texting landlords like, uh, don't even look at the house, just message right from Facebook. Would you be willing to sell your house? I mean, would you be willing to rent your house for a year or two and then sell to me? And then copy and paste and do that 25 times a day. By the end of the week or 2 weeks, you'll have a deal.
Yep.
Probate courts is a big to do. Go to probate courts. You got every city has a probate court. Just go down there and look at their day book and see what deals came in or what got listed. Or, you know what? Go to a funeral home and make a deal with a funeral home that they give you names of people that passed away this week. You know what I mean? Like make friends with the funeral. There's plenty of funeral homes, and tell them, hey, every time I do a deal, I'll pay you something.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just give me the name of the deceased person, which they're publicly putting in the newspaper anyways.
Yeah. It's not a
We,
secret.
we we used to be able to just go buy a newspaper and do it, but I don't know if you can do that in many places,
Oh,
right?
it's online nowadays. Just punch in
Yeah.
obituaries. It's all there.
Yeah. Okay, well then do
It's
that.
no, it's no secret.
Obituaries, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we did this the other day on a coaching call, right? We buy houses website inquiries. Okay. We buy house website inquiries, right? We did this the other day in one of my coaching groups. I went off on a tangent on this. All I'm going to say is ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Have it scrape some websites. Actually, I don't use ChatGPT as much as others do. I'm an AI maniac. I have multiple agents. I use AI every day of my life. But I use GenSpark,
Mm-hmm.
GenSpark.ai, I think it is. And then we have referral networks like CPAs, attorneys, divorce mediators, like we talked about probate attorneys. All those are places where you could get, what you're doing is you're borrowing attention.
Hmm.
Like this group, like a CPA, attorney, and divorce, they already have people's attention. So
Ah.
it's kind of like an influencer. They're already an influencer. You're just gonna go borrow their attention between them and their tribe, right?
Yep.
And then of course there's direct mail listings, which we used to do all the time, right?
Sure.
That's yellow letter type stuff. Barrier 3, failing to build confidence, seller confidence in creative solutions. So here's what you'll notice the problems are. Sellers are scared of creative deals. They keep saying they sound risky. I don't know if I want to do that. It sounds too risky.
Yep.
Right? No confidence building system for a non-traditional transaction. So you don't know how to build confidence. You don't know how to do that. This is a barrier for you that may seem so slight. It may not seem important. Matter of fact, I don't even think this podcast is going to be important, is going to be popular, because these are boring things. But I'm telling you, if you don't have them in, this is like building a house in the middle of the desert on top of the sand. Yeah, you might live there for a little while, but as soon as the first storm comes along or something, down goes the house. Right?
So what do you do with this one? I don't hear this a lot. So I work my way through it, but I don't have like, oh, I'll do this, this, this. What do you have for that?
So the other problem is seller difficulty. I just want cash. So because they don't understand the benefits of creative real estate.
Yeah.
Right. So to answer your question, this is a mindset now. Okay. And I'm going to tell you that I'm buzzing through these. Each one of these could be its own podcast.
Right.
Which I don't want to do, but each one of these could be their own podcast. And here's the reason why. Listen to these 3 words: education-based approach. Education-based approach. And what I mean by that, explain the benefits before the options, or before the choices are made, or before the offer is probably the right way to say it. Right? I'm going to change that here.
Now that makes sense, because I've done that. So I said, what's risk? I said, for $128,000, like, look, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. So for $128,000 or $222,000, I mean, it doesn't come free. You have to do something.
Yeah, you're talking about the slot deal overpaying 35%, which is $125,000, right?
Yeah, they make a big profit. Like, you have to do something for that.
This is an old marketing trick, and we don't do this enough in our offers. Risk reversal. In marketing, it's called a guarantee, right? But show how creative deals are safer than traditional deals, right? So just as a quick example, I do subject to deal, right?
Sure.
And they're like, I don't want to leave my mortgage in your name. Why not? And then I say to them, I explain to them, I tell them a story about where this happened to me. But the bottom line of the short story is this: well, if I don't make your payments, the bank is going to foreclose. Do you agree? Oh yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Oh, guess what? My name is on the deed. Your name is on the mortgage. We're both plaintiffs in this action.
Yeah.
So the bank's coming after me just like they're coming after you, and I probably have deeper pockets than you.
Yeah. So you're going to take care of the property. It's not like you just get to walk away. You have a very big interest in making it work.
This is risk reversal.
Cool.
Here's another one. Well, I'll tell you what. Because when am I going to get my money? I want to get paid. Like if you're going to do a delayed cash out, like say 3 years from now, you're going to do a 3-year lease. Here's the answer. Well, I could tell you this. I'm not sure when you're going to get your money, but I do know this. I'm going to get paid when you get paid. So you think I'm motivated to get that money? That's risk reversal. Okay?
Good.
Success stories. This is one that I promise you is not used enough by you and everybody else. Success stories. Here's how another seller in your situation benefited from doing this deal. You could tell my stories. You could tell stories you read in a book. You could tell stories of your own. You could tell stories of your grandmother. Doesn't matter. Well, one time my grandmother did a deal like this, and here's what we did.
Yeah.
One time my partner did a deal like this. I watched him, and it was just amazing because here's what the seller was saying, exactly what you're saying, and here's how we solved the problem. Right? And then you always want to take the consulting positioning. We're helping them explore their choices without pressure. So going back to the first thing, problem is they have one intention and something's blocking it, which is we're calling counterintention or other intention, or something is in their way of
Mm.
getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's where you need to find out where, well, like what is in their way, and then help them remove that object or that thing that's in their way, and that's where the consulting comes in.
Yeah.
You come up with ideas, and just by being out of their head, being extroverted out of their thinking, like outside of it, not inside of it. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, you're being objective, they're being subjective,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Just by two-way communicating with them and just giving them some ideas, it'll shake those fixed ideas they have in their head that they're stuck with, that are holding them back.
Yeah. Well, they don't know the creative solutions.
Right. Exactly.
That's often
All
when
right.
you go, "What if we did this?"
All right. So here's how you would get these. This is a harder way to do it, but it's a better way to do it because you'll get better leads.
Yeah.
Educational content like blogs, YouTube videos about creative real estate deals.
Hmm.
Real estate investment meetups, like speak at different REI meetings, right? Local real estate Facebook groups online. Just go in there and start answering a bunch of questions. You'll learn more than they will. Webinar attendees, like just go go find pre-educated concepts and just you can have your own webinar, right? It's what we call learning out loud,
Mm.
right? You're learning while they're learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Newsletter subscribers and workshop attendees. You can go to workshops and you can do all this kind of stuff. Okay.
Cool.
Barrier number 4: misreading seller motivation signals.
Hmm.
Right? So number 1 was signal blindness, right? And you're looking for the creative deal indicators. Now we're looking for the signals that they're motivated, right?
Huh.
You're like, for example, you're assuming all sellers are motivated for the same thing, money, right? When in fact, you're missing the difference between motivation to sell versus motivation for creative terms. It's not always money.
Mm-hmm.
And not understanding what's driving their motivation. It's not always money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some motivation signals are financial pressure. They need cash or creative structure right away. Like this is our need and greed section,
Mm-hmm.
right? They either if there's pressure, there's either need pressure or financial pressure.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big one, Peter. I'm going to tell you right now, this is why I called it a signal. I know I got 2 signals in here, but this is a big one. This is a huge signal.
Okay.
Actually, the next couple are
Hmm.
life changes.
Hmm.
Life changes. They have already moved on in their head.
Yeah.
And this is like a ball and chain. This house is like a ball and chain on them. They've already got a new job. They're already living with their new girlfriend or boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
The kids have just moved out and gone to college. They're now empty nesters and they're moving on.
Yeah.
They're going to go to the Rocky Mountains because they're now going to be a photographer. And they had this vision of being out in the mountains and taking pictures.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. My neighbor, I drove down the street last week. I needed to go to the store, buy a cooler. I drive by one of my neighbors right on the corner, tag sale. I hit the brakes. I see a cooler. He goes, we're going to South Carolina. That's it. We're done with this. We're out of here. I'm starting a new life. Here, take the cooler. He gave it to me for free. See you later. Didn't know the guy. He's out of town. He's gone. Baby,
did you ask him about the house?
It was already set up. He was all set. It was
okay.
Yeah. There was no signs. It was just he moved on. But that's the point. He was out of here. Right. They didn't care. He just get me out of here.
So here's another life change: inheritance or divorce.
Mm.
Right? How about relocation? These are all subtle motivations that you will hear, and we take them for granted because we talk about them all the time. But again, think of it this way: definition of a problem is intention, counterintention, or idea and barriers to getting the idea.
Yeah.
Right? So what you do is once you find out what these are, and we're naming them here. So If it's relocation, then all you're going to do is communicate back and forth, two-way communication with the seller, and just give them ideas and give them different concepts and different choices of what they could do, and it will rock back and forth like a car stuck in the mud or in the snow. You rock it back and forth, and
Yeah.
then pretty soon it'll free up in the seller's mind, and you're right there, and you're the hero,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some places you can find these leads are financial pressure would be like tax liens, bankruptcy filings, foreclosure filings. Life changes would be job relocation databases, retirement community list. You could also, that's further down the list. Property burden. So that's absentee owners, out of state landlords, right? These could be like liens against the house, like blight orders. That's a big one. A blight is when the city comes in and says, cut your grass, or we're sending our guys in and we're going to charge your deed or charge you for it. If you don't pay, we're putting a lien on the house.
Yep.
Right? Inheritance is probate records, estate attorney referrals. Relocation is corporate relocation services, military transfer lists. That's a good one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And divorce is family court records and divorce attorney networks, right? Now imagine, I'm kind of buzzing through this. I'm telling you, we could do a whole 2-day seminar on these, right?
Yeah.
Here's the point. Imagine if you just focused on one and you became the job relocation person.
Hmm.
And just focused on that thing. You don't drill a hole 10 feet wide and 10 feet deep. No, you drill a hole 10 inches wide and 1,000 feet deep, and you become the specialist. Right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I talked to a guy yesterday that's from Texas, and he specializes in doing lease options in Texas. That's all he does. It's all he does. Doesn't do anything else. And he's happy because he's doing deals, and he's got his 15 or 20 students that pay him $1,000 or whatever they are, and he's happy. Right? When I say we could, he's like, nope, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Barrier number 5. My point is he's got that 10-inch hole, but he's gone 1,000 feet deep.
Yeah, he's working it.
Yeah. Barrier number 5, the wrong conversation framework. Right? So you're leading with I buy houses instead of I solve problems. Right? Asking prices before they understand the situation, or asking price before you understand the situation. No systematic way to uncover creative real deal opportunities. My scripts cover that because that's what we do. The fix is situation discovery. Tell me about your situation. That's a very good one. Right? Problem identification. What's your biggest challenge is a good question. Goal clarification. What's your ideal outcome is a good question. Option education. It's actually choice education, but let me show you some possibilities. Option education. Yeah. So and you talk about options.
Yeah. You mean like different things you could do, different possibilities, solutions?
Yeah, or just talk about an option agreement, and just because we use an option agreement many different ways, right?
That's right.
So creative solutions based on what they've told you, right? So some lead sources for this would be inbound marketing, SEO optimization, sell houses fast. This would be Google Ads, targeting alternative selling without a realtor. This would be social media groups like real estate discussion forums. This is cold calling scripts, like getting a list from like My Plus Leads and just calling them, right? Direct mail and network events. Just making sense?
It does.
Okay. The last one, and probably the worst.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the assumption trap.
Ooh.
Yeah, you talked about this before. This is like going into the deal with preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
So the problem is you're going to assume the sellers want cash when they might prefer terms. That is the number one barrier in all real estate, creative real estate investors when they first start. Assuming, because why is that, Peter? I'll tell you. Do you know why?
No,
people
I'll
think
listen.
that?
I'm sure you'll have a bit. Well, no. What do you think?
97% of everybody you talk to want all cash.
Oh, yeah.
So you're gonna have a generality like, well, everybody wants cash. Nobody wants terms.
Mm.
When no, only 3 to 5% do. You
Hmm.
just haven't made enough phone calls to find that person.
Yeah.
I said before, I can convert people from cash into terms deals. You shouldn't do that. I've got, I don't even know how many billions of hours of experience. But when you're first starting, it's dialing for dollars. You're just looking for that motivated seller. Just keep calling until you get them on the phone.
Yeah.
And then they say yes more than they say no, and you're flabbergasted because you met your first. This is like going from being a virgin to not being a virgin. This is like going from I don't know how to drive to becoming a NASCAR driver. It's just until you get in the car and drive around, you don't know what it feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like to ride in a car, but you don't know how hard you got to push on the brake, or how hard you got to push on the gas, or how fast you can go around the corner without tipping the car over.
That's right.
Until you actually physically feel that, you don't know,
Mm.
right? And this is what happens when you're looking for a motivated seller. You don't know what it's like until you experience it.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's like to kiss somebody until you kiss somebody on the lips passionately, right? This is like motivated sellers. Until you talk to one and see one and feel one and hear one, you have no clue what it's like. But as soon as you hear one, you got the disease.
Yep.
You will never stop.
It's amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm. So you're not presenting creative options because the seller seems too traditional. Oh, I'm going to call a realtor. And then you stop instead of just saying, well, why are you going to do that? You know how much it's going to cost you. You know the cost to sell. And
Hmm.
you don't do that, right? And you're missing opportunities because you're not asking the right questions. All the stuff we just talked about,
Yeah.
right? So the fix is make a rule. Make a rule. Every person you talk to, present an offer. Even if it's a cash offer that sellers might prefer not to do,
Hmm.
present an offer. Okay?
Sure.
Benefits approach first. Show the advantages of your offer to the seller,
Hmm.
and either or presentations. I talk about this as comparative sales. So it's you can do X or you can do Y. Which sounds better to you?
Hmm.
So on a $400,000 house, I'm going to say I can give you $300,000 all cash, or I can, if you let me rent for 3 years, I'll give you $500,000.
Hmm.
The comparative sale, one or the other. Which one would you
Right.
prefer?
Right.
Now you know. Now you know where to go. Now, and one of the things that I do that I didn't realize I do till not too long ago is I walk people through the sequence
Mm.
of how it would be. Like this is what's going to happen then, and that's what's going to happen then, and that will take some experience. But for the most part, if you use our scripts and stuff, you'll be able to do that, right?
Yeah, that's important. I've seen you do that, so
Mm-hmm.
you have more experience. But I know how it works, so you should tell them that because they can't
Right,
imagine this, and you do. You go, oh, I see what happens. It helps.
right, right. So what is the saying? Vision makes decision.
Yeah. So if they can see it, it helps them decide.
Right.
They have to kind of
Well,
see it.
no. Well, I don't. I say it, but what I really mean is if they can see it and believe it, they can
Well,
decide.
yeah, that's the
So it's got
confidence
it's
part,
got
right?
it's got it's got to make sense to them. Like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like if I were to talk about Sasquatch, or
Hmm.
or the thing that is in one of the lakes, I forgot the name of that monster.
Loch Ness
Loch Ness
Loch Ness
Loch Ness monster.
monster.
If I
Yeah.
talk about that, it's like it's a little bit unreal because you've seen like these weird pictures on TV, but you've never seen one.
Yeah.
But if I said to you, "Oh yeah, it, I have a German Shepherd, or a collie, or a lab, what do they call a lab?
Labradoodle?
No, uh,
Labrador?
lab retriever,
Oh, yeah.
right? You can vision one of those animals. You can't vision Sasquatch, but you can say, "Oh yeah, I know what a German Shepherd looks like."
Yeah.
You're building agreement on your concept, right?
Sure.
All right. So where do you find these people? This is the hardest. This is the hardest way. The assumption trap. You find them on the. You find them MLS expired listings, FISBO follow ups, rental properties, high equity properties. That's a good list. High equity properties. You can find that at My Plus Leads. Unique properties, like hard to sell traditionally, perfect for creative deals, right? and long-term owners. They've been there. They've owned the property for a long time.
Yep.
All right, cool. So just realize, I'm going to go a couple minutes longer here, right? The complete framework is pretty much 7 points. So you're going to hunt in the right places. So you're going to target creative, friendly lead sources. That's a big trick. Hunt in the right places. Listen for creative deal signals, not just distress. You're going to qualify for creative deal fit, prospect versus suspect. You're going to educate about creative options so you can build confidence. And I don't mean, when I say educate, I'm not talking about the deal structuring and all the seminar talk. I'm talking about educate them on how easy the deal will flow and how quick they can get out of there, right? And solve all their problems. You're going to understand their real motivation, what's driving the sale. Then you're going to guide the conversation towards creative solutions. And then you're going to present choices that match their actual needs.
It sounds simple, or it sounds
So I'm trying to.
logical. It sounds logical, if nothing else, if you just relax and talk to people.
All right, good. So I'm going to give you, I think what I'm going to do is I decided, I think yesterday. So I think I'm going to do the next podcast, which is what,
6, 8.
468.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure, this is what I want to talk about next week because it's like a sequel to this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, this is not the name of it. I'm just going to give you, it's going to end this podcast, but I think it will start the new one. You tell me when I get done reading it to you, okay?
Sure.
The one thing everyone should know about habits is they are difficult to build. And there's 4 reasons why. First, finding the motivation to break bad habits is easier said than done and are oftentimes used as coping mechanisms for deeper issues. Second, habits can take upwards to 30 days to form, and that's a long time to invest for most people. Third, positive habits don't always show rewards right away, which make bad habits easier to fall back onto. And fourth, habits tend to be a reflection of people's group of friends, which is a much harder variable to change overnight. So number 4, habits tend to be a reflection of people's groups or friends, which is a much harder variable to change overnight. Should we do a podcast on that?
Might as well.
Okay.
Because if you could take the things you just talked about and build habits to just get used to doing that, it could be a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's exactly my thought process.
Okay.
All right, good. So thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you jump over to Amazon and grab my new book, Leads, Deals, Cash, Creative Real Estate Operator's Manual. I just remember what I missed in the beginning of the housekeeping. Make sure you subscribe to us and like us and leave us a review so others can know what we're doing over here, good, bad, or indifferent. I can tell you that I don't check them as much as I should. I just keep plugging along. That's how we ended up with 468 podcasts so far. So hopefully we helped you today. Hopefully we opened your mind up and gave you some ideas and things to point your compass to and make a better life for yourself because of creative real estate deals. So also go over to creativerealestatedealology.com/subscribe. Grab my newsletter, and you'll have plenty of information between the book and the newsletter. You will be amazed at how much of a $30,000 coaching program you're actually getting for a couple bucks. All right. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for your support. Over and out. We will talk to you on the next episode. Flourish and prosper.